Hey team, welcome to another Building Better Baseball timeout. In today's timeout, we're going over the ground rule double and all of the rules that have to do with the ground rule double. Remember, I'm Coach Hart, and in these timeouts, I teach you the baseball rules and I teach you how to play the game. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the ground rule double. So, first of all, what are ground rules? The term ground rules simply refers to the rules of the game and the field of play. So when umpires and coaches meet at home plate prior to starting the game, they're going over the ground rules. So I'm sure that if you've ever seen a baseball game before, you always see the managers or the coaches and the umpires out at home plate right before the game starts. What they're talking about, what they're going over is first, the rules of the game, such as the lineup rules. I know in youth baseball, they go over the batting lineup and they go over the lineup rules and how many each team is batting and all that stuff. But also, they're going over the field of play. Before the ground rules meeting, the umpires, they walk around the field and the outfield fence just to see any holes or any avenues that the ball is able to escape. And they bring that to the ground rule meeting. And if they see something in left field, for example, they'll talk to the coaches about it and they'll say, hey coaches, in left field, the fence is stuck up. So if a ball gets under there, have your player raise their hand and it'll be a ground rule double. Things like that. They scan the field, and in this meeting before the game, they go over the ground rules of the field just so everybody is on the same page on both sides. So what is a ground rule double? A normal double is when the ball is hit, the batter can get to second base safely on that hit. So just one hit, they get two bases. That's a regular double. A ground rule double is when the ball is hit in fair territory and in some way it goes out of play. So there are many ways that this can happen, and we're going to go over the three most common ground rule doubles that happen. But the short version is whenever a ball is hit in fair territory and the ball goes out of play for some reason. So what happens on a ground rule double? When a ground rule double is called by the umpire, all the base runners are able to advance two bases. So it doesn't matter how many runners are on base, what bases they're at, no matter what the situation is, if a ground rule double happens, each player or each runner gets to advance two bases. The two bases are determined from which base the runner was on when the play begins. So when the play starts, before the hit even happened, was there a runner on first and second? Was there just a runner on third? Was there a runner on first? Whatever the situation was before the pitch was thrown, that is where the ground rule double rules apply. So if there is a runner on first and second and there's a ground rule double, that runner on second would get to go home and score, and that runner on first would go all the way to third. So even if it's a high fly ball and the runners are able to run around the bases and the ball comes down and lands and bounces over the fence for a ground rule double, it doesn't matter where the runners are. Everything reverts back to before the ball was hit. And that is the situation that can determine where the runners are able to go. Some common ground rule doubles. There are three common ground rule doubles that we're going to go over in this timeout. The first one is when a ball bounces over a fence or into the stands. So if you can see right here, there's usually a warning track, right? The ball is going to come, and let's say it's a fly ball, it lands in play here, and then it just boop, bounces over the fence. That is a very common ground rule double that happens, especially in the major leagues. It just bounces into the stands, and that's the first example of a ground rule double. The next one is the ball gets lost in a fence or overgrowth. So as you can see right here, this might remind you of Wrigley Field. If you know anything about the Cubs and Wrigley Field, they have the famous ivy in the outfield. And when a ball gets stuck in that ivy, you see the outfielder raise their hands. That's signifying that the ball is stuck in the ivy. So that happens sometimes. So in fields like this, where there's stuff on the outfield wall or there's brush or anything like that, if the ball gets stuck in there, the player will raise their hands because they can't get it and the ball is stuck. That's a ground rule double. Also fences. There are fences that are just kind of old and they get pulled up, and sometimes the ball gets stuck underneath of them where the player can't really get it. The player will just raise their hand because the ball is stuck. The umpire will come out to the fence to determine if a ground rule double is necessary. And in that situation, when the ball is stuck under the fence, that is usually grounds for a ground rule double. And the last one is when the ball rolls out of play. Now remember, this is not a thrown ball. You can't get a ground rule double on a thrown ball from the defense. So whenever there's an error on the defense and they throw the ball out of play, each runner still gets two bases, but it's not called a ground rule double. A ground rule double is only for when the ball is hit by the batter. And in this situation right here, you see this field right here, how this fence, the dugout fence, doesn't go all the way down. It goes into open area, out of play area. Let's say that there's a right-handed batter and they slice it down the first baseline where the ball is spinning. It hits in the outfield grass just beyond first base, so it's a fair ball, and it bounces and ricochets over into foul ground and then out of play. That would be a ground rule double. So that's the third situation. If there's ever a ball that's hit by the batter and it's curving and it lands in fair territory and then goes into foul ground, that is a ground rule double for the batter. One common misconception is fan interference. So fan interference is not an automatic double. There's a lot of people that think, especially in the major leagues, when they see fans reach over into the field of play to try to catch a ball, that is not an automatic double. That is a determination and a decision by the umpire, and the umpire has to decide what the ruling on that play is, because every situation is different, and to award a ground rule double for every situation is just not really fair to the defense sometimes. So a fan interference situation is up to the umpire to make the decision about that individual play. Thanks for taking another time out with Building Better Baseball. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot about the ground rule double. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because I'm here every single week with a brand new video to help you level up your game. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next time out.